On this episode of Consumed, we're going to dig into that paradigm of how you feel responsible all the time for poor choices that your client may make and how we better align all those things together. And I can tell you right now, most of it happens because guess what? You focus on marketing and we start feeling other people's feelings for them. This is Consumed, the podcast for real estate agents who are tired of hearing the same old industry stuff and want to experience something completely different. Welcome to season 2 of Consumed, the podcast for the top 10% of agents who are looking to understand how consumers think, how they engage, and what they want from their agents. My name is Lance Pendleton. I'm your host. As you'll notice, a couple of changes for season 2. We upgraded the environment a little bit. I got cool signage behind me too, which is really nice. And I'm also I'm riding solo. This season, we're going to ride solo. I'm actually not going to fully ride solo, though. So let me tell you a little bit about what you can expect in season 2. I also want to share with you the thematic topic for this week. And in season 2, this is really going to be a deep dive every week into how consumers think, how you best connect with them, what they want. And I'm actually going to bring consumers on as guests. So I want you to hear directly from people. I want you to have a connection with people. I want you to understand what goes on in a consumer's mind, different types of people, how they're shopping, buyers, sellers, what they're looking for. People that bought a long time ago and aren't even thinking of buying right now. People that sold years ago and aren't really thinking of even selling. If you understand as an agent what it is that a consumer wants and needs, you will be far better at connecting with them, and it's going to help you drive your business. With that being said, I want to kick off our first episode of the second season talking about something near and dear to my heart. And it's something I see a lot with a lot of the clients that I have. So let me tell you a story. I've been in the coaching space, and I hate the term coaching in real estate just because I don't know, it skeeves me out. It's one of those things that I'm sort of like, anybody can call themselves a coach. There's no actual accreditation to any of it. It all kind of seems like wishy-washy bullshit to me. But let me tell you a little bit about why I think, for me, the coaching industry doesn't work for agents. So if you think about coaching in real estate is very similar to the healthcare industry. So the healthcare industry is built on symptom treatment, never treating the cause. And the reason is because that's where all the money's made. It's made in symptom treatment. If you go to a doctor, you have high cholesterol, you are not feeling great, right? The first thing they're going to do is give you a pill. They're going to say, hey, here's a statin. You're going to take this, lower your cholesterol. They might broach, you also might want to, eat a little better or do some exercise, but that's not going to be part of a plan for you moving forward. Why? Because if they really dove into helping you on dealing with the cause of the problem, then you wouldn't need them anymore. So the system is designed and built all around symptom treatment. And coaching and the real estate model itself is the same way. Everything in coaching is built around symptom treatment. And that is because it keeps you dependent on the coach. So fine, I get it. I understand it. Look, there's great coaches out there that do wonderful work with people. They help people. They do all kinds of fantastic stuff. With that being said, at the same time, no one talks about a lot of the emotional components and the things that come into context with working with agents, helping them be better at what they do. So I'll give you an example. I had a client I was talking to the other day, and they started off by explaining to me they were super frustrated by this particular client they had, because they had explained to that client that if they priced at a certain price point, that it wasn't going to work for them. And the client wanted to go ahead and price it at some ridiculous price point anyway. They went ahead, they did that. And the agent, now 6 months into this listing, was telling me that they were so upset because these people didn't listen. And now these people are looking at them for answers as to why the property's not selling. And they were talking about, what are the things that I should be saying to them to get them to understand that it's not me. And, they're really frustrated. And I feel like I should do something. Right. And I keep hearing this. I feel like I should do something. And I'm thinking, okay, you should do what though? Right. Because the part that you had any chance to do happened already. That window was gone 6 months ago. So as I started to explain to my client what was happening for their client, I watched this sense of relief slowly begin to wash over the person I was talking to. And as much as it pained me to say what I was saying to them, which I'm going to explain here in a second, it also made me realize that so many of the people that I work with, and I think people in the coaching industry work with, so many people misunderstand what their job and what the role is. We get so over-indexed and so over-invested in the job itself that we don't do a great job at stepping backwards. And that's why having someone to talk to, having a coach, having someone to have a 30,000-foot perspective is beneficial. But with that being said, what you do with that information is important. So here's what I explained. The single biggest mistake that I see agents make in the world today in working with consumers is that we don't set expectations up front. One of the best behavioral psychologists in the world is Cesar Millan. And people always say, Lance, Cesar Millan is a dog trainer. He's not a behavioral psychologist. And I beg to differ, because whenever they interview Cesar Millan, they always say, well, Cesar Millan, you're the best dog trainer in the world. And he always stops people. He's like, I'm not a dog trainer. And they're like, yes, you are, though. You're a dog trainer. That's what you do. You train dogs. And he's like, no, I don't. He said, I train people. You see, dogs have hundreds of thousands of years baked in their DNA on how they act and behave. It's people that mess up the dog. And it's very interesting because in a lot of different ways too, one of the things that he shares is this idea that in order for you to have a healthy, calm, happy relationship with your dog, you have to have rules, boundaries, and limitations. You have to set expectations up front. And so what this led me into understanding is, well, what is the cause? So if most coaching these days is focused on symptom treatment, which is what is the perfect fix? Let's talk about it like this. Coaches are going to listen to that client. They're going to hear that client say to them, here's the problem, here's the situation, what do I do? And they're going to focus on, well, okay, so here's what you need to explain to them. And they're going to give them the script. They're going to give them the playbook, the perfect thing to say, right? Well, we're going to have to start a remarketing campaign for you now because of X, Y, and Z. Or, you know what, you should do a weekly touch base with a digital thing that shows how many clicks they've had on. And that's fine, but that's not addressing the problem. The problem is how the agent feels. And how the agent feels starts with, what was the cause? The cause was we didn't set an expectation up front, and we didn't really help the client understand very quickly that there's freedom of choice. There are choices that person is going to make. There are things that they are going to do that are beneficial, and there are things that they are going to do that might be harmful in the long run. But we didn't actually set that. What we did was we tried our best to convince them of something. That is a problem. And the problem is because it sets up an us versus them dynamic. So when you look in real estate, when most tension comes into the relationship between the agent and the client, it's because of the fact that there's tension. That tension is surmounted into the client is at the third most stressful time of their life, right behind death and job loss, with the single largest financial asset they have. And the agent has spent most of their time from the first meeting trying to convince this person that they are good at what they do and they're trying to show their value, right? So why am I doing little bunny ears with around the word value? Well, because value in real estate is bullshit. It has been for years. This idea that the agent has to be showing their value to everybody and explaining to somebody, well, here's my value to you and I have to demonstrate my value. And if you sent them something, you have to show your value. Did it have your value in it? Does it show your value? It's nonsensical. Why? Because in essence, we really all have the same value. As an agent, my job is to help navigate a process with somebody. And when we don't really look at who we are, what we do, and what our role in the relationship is, the consumer then doesn't understand what our role in the relationship is. And because of that, it is the single biggest thing that A, keeps us stuck, B, creates additional really problems within how we engage with people and actually how we process things ourselves. And worst of all, it really continues to perpetuate and foster this notion of what our real estate agent is, because that's where consumers have already gotten off on the wrong foot. So let's break that down for a minute. If you start a relationship with somebody, and in the beginning of that relationship, you were to say to them, okay, here's what I think a healthy relationship would look like. And they said to you, well, we think a healthy relationship would look like this, and it's a little more extreme. If you said, okay, we'll do that, but at your core, you know it was incorrect. And then during the course of that relationship, you spent the entire time trying to do what they're asking you to do, even though you know in your gut it's wrong. And on top of that, you are over indexing on trying to demonstrate all of the things that you can do for them and that you are doing for them and justifying it, even though whatever's happening there is wrong. And you're taking on the emotional impact and feeling the blame for that. That is what we call a toxic relationship in any aspect of it. So to fix the problem right off the bat, one of the first things that we need to focus on is, how do I set healthy boundaries? How do I have rules, boundaries, and limitations at the very beginning and help set what a good, healthy relationship looks like moving forward? And the first thing is, we need to redefine in the business to a consumer what I do as an agent. The first step is to help them see that your best value, for lack of a better term, right, is that you are there to be what I call a Sherpa, a guide in a process. The best mountain climbers in the world will always take a Sherpa. It doesn't matter if they've climbed the same mountain 10 times, they always take a Sherpa. And the reason is because they need a partner in a climb. So in this season of Consume, we're going to really drill down and understand, what does that partnership look like? What is it that that person needs? How are they feeling about it? And how do we break it down to somebody to help them understand that what I do with them as an really an exceptional real estate advisor is really not what a real estate agent does, their expectation and their understanding of an agent. So I will tell you all that this is the first big transitional shift for many people that I work with in recognizing to de-stress their job every day is to change the mindset away from the fact that I'm in real estate and sales, because you're not in sales, and put it back into something that's far more effective to what consumers have told me over the years now they really want and need. That's partnership. And in any great relationship, having a healthy partner and having open dialogue and communication and understanding starts with communication upfront about expectations and needs, right? So this is all very, very similar. And, you know, as those of you that have been listening to me in the past, just my background's in behavioral psychology, we bring some of that into it a little bit every time. And this dynamic is the same across the board. So think about the different ways that we can approach this. The first thing that I love about working with a client, my clients, right, the agents that I get to work with in this perspective is, I always ask agents, well, what do you do for a living? Tell me what you do for a living. And the most common answer that I get is, well, I help people buy and sell real estate. And I'm like, yeah, no, you don't do that. You don't. You know, houses sell themselves. It's just supply and demand economics. Houses sell themselves. So if you think about what it is that we do, if I take a house and I put it on the market and put the price really low, what's going to happen to it? It'll sell. What the hell does that have to do with me? Nothing, right? Nothing, because of the fact that right now, it's not about me having something to do with the actual sale of a property. It's not my money being invested in it. It's not me going through and standing on a street corner and, you know, shouting at people that they need to come see this house. That's not really what it is that we're doing. Our job is to be that Sherpa and guide. So when I explain it to people and how it works in the beginning of this partnership, I work with people to help them do 4 things. I am a consultant, an advocate, an advisor, and most importantly, an educator. So consultancy, advocacy, advisory, and education are what I do with my clients in real estate. I work with great agents across the country. I've been very blessed to have some amazing, just unbelievably talented agents who, for their years of success, still feel like they're not successful. Because the way that the industry is designed, it's constantly pitting you against yourself. It's always driving you to look at the last number. What did you do last year? How did we top last year? How did we engage in that? And the easiest way to see this is business planning. Every year, every brokerage across the country, we get into like October, November, starts in business planning. We do business planning, have business planning. Everybody has business planning. And guess what? Business planning is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in real estate. Why? Because everybody goes bonkers to fill out their business plan and nobody does anything with it. Because it's all based on arbitrary crap that you have no impact or ability to affect whatsoever. It's all magic thinking. And because it's all magical thinking and things that we'd like to see happen and would think we can do while we're actually getting stuck in doing the business, it's not realistic. So when you think about the role I need to be more visually oriented to being a Sherpa and a guide. Because what does a Sherpa do for a consumer? What do they do for that climber? Well, a Sherpa's job in a mountain climb is to help the climber understand when the best time to start the climb might be, to understand what to do when there's inclement weather, to know what to do and where to make base camp, what to do with the packing that they're going to need to do to have things ready before they even leave, what to do when their job is to be the guide in that process. And that is the same thing you were doing in partnership with somebody in their home buying and selling process, right? But at no point in time does a Sherpa stand in front of a mountain climber and go, well, let me explain to you why I'm the best person for this climb with you. You see, my marketing is amazing. It's fantastic. We're going to promote this climb like no one's ever. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? People say to me all the time, Lance, well, what is your master marketing plan when you talk to consumers out there? Oh, here's my master marketing pitch. You ready? I will ask somebody that I'm talking to as a consumer. Okay, well, are you looking to buy a home? You're talking about selling your home. Are you looking to buy a home? I'll say yes. And I go, okay, well, where are you looking to buy that home? Most common answer I get, oh, well, we went on Zillow to start looking. And I will look at them and go, cool, my marketing presentation is done. Why? Because that's where everybody goes. You see, in real estate, we all have the same marketing. This idea that we have this specialized marketing and we all have the same stuff. You want a drone to fly through the front door and fly through the kitchen and out the back? We can do that. You want your property in the Beijing time? We can do that. That's not special or unique. And everybody that hears this, and I guarantee you, I'm going to get a bunch of hate in the comments, but this idea that marketing is this thing that we do, no, it's bullshit that brokerages assemble together to try and demonstrate their benefit to you and why they're so invaluable to you. The truth of the matter is, the marketing is all pretty much the same. Most people find their property on the internet. And again, what matters? Great photography, great video, great, cool. You've got that. You're already light years ahead. It's why if that's the place that they find it, you talk about like Matterport tours or having any form of additional engagement, that matters. But for the consumers, if you come in and educate somebody on the fact that you're going to have all that stuff, that's not where the value lies. And if you're talking to anybody else, if an agent comes into your home, Bob and Cindy, consumer, and they spend 20 minutes explaining to you the power and beauty of their marketing, run, because they have nothing for you. They don't. So when I talk to people about this and you look at being a Sherpa and a guide, it's about educating a consumer into understanding the benefits. My marketing piece and the things, and yes, I do marketing. It's a leave behind. I explain those things very briefly and I let them then digest that and look at that and ask questions. But it's not the lion's share. I focus on differentiation. So as a Sherpa and a guide in something, when you look at how you begin to differentiate yourself and kind of move beyond just the, I'd say, typical thing, you want to really identify, how do I help somebody in the very beginning understand what I do? So here's my recommendation for you. My recommendation for you is, in this season, as you listen to the podcast, as you listen to the consumers come on and talk about different components and things, as you listen to all of the different ways that people explain that they'd like to be worked with, want to be worked with, what their needs are, I want you to jot those things down that you hear so that you can incorporate those into a listing presentation, into a buyer's presentation, into your marketing, into how you promote the work that you do. Because the things that you hear consumers say are the things that are going to resonate with everybody else. And I can almost guarantee you, what you're not going to hear somebody say this season is, oh, Cindy's marketing was unbelievable, really was spectacular. And I can prove it. You ready? I'm going to prove this. If you're an agent listening to the sound of my voice, I challenge you to go back and read all of the reviews that you've collected over the years and find one that references your marketing. I'll wait. It doesn't happen. Nobody writes a review and says, oh, Bob was great, very helpful and very knowledgeable, and his marketing was exceptional. His marketing was the reason that our property sold 20% over asking price. Said no one ever. It doesn't exist. What they tell you is they appreciate that person for what they did, how they handled things, the advice that they gave, the support, how they were a partner in a process. So this season on Consumed, I'm going to try and help you by learning from other people to get away from the feeling of responsibility. I have to convince them of something. I have to make them understand my value and help them just be educated up front to the best part of what you do as an agent, which is to help that consumer better understand the process, what to do, how to engage, where they need to be cautious, where they need to be a little more advanced in their aggression, whatever those things are. But you're going to be able to demonstrate to them how you can engage with them in a way that really effectively makes it a true partnership and takes all the pressure off of you to convince somebody and not feel this sense of obligation. And I say it to my clients all the time. So we'll close this episode with this. Remember, you can't feel other people's feelings for them. You can't feel other people's feelings for them. If you've done your job, you've educated up front, you are in a prime position then to be able to help and be supportive rather than trying to catch up down the end and feeling responsible for bad decisions and poor choices they made because they didn't listen to you to begin with. So great season. Super excited for all the stuff that we've got coming up. Again, I'm Lance Pendleton, and thank you so much for being with us on this run. I look forward to our next episode. And again, check out the show notes for more information and all the super cool things that we've got going for you. Because guess what? At this point in time, if you are not dealing with consumers, you are not going to be consumed. On the next episode of Consumed, we're going to land the plane on why consumers want partnership and don't really care about your marketing.